having some, just fun, swinging at a 3-0 pitch from a guy throwing 47 miles an hour and hitting one 423 feet. What was your take on his swing on 3-0 with you guys up in the 9th inning last night?
Big mistake. I mean, you guys are zooming, so you're not at the ballpark. If you had been at the ballpark, just about the time the guy started making the pitch, I took several steps from the dugout onto the field yelling, take, take, take. Because just the way he was set up, I looked to me like he was going to swing. And the whole time he's around the bases, I'm out there and I was upset because that's not a time to swing 3-0. And as I happened to look over there and I know the Twins knew that I was upset. Joe had given him the take sign. I just think Yermin was locked into he and Estudillo. They know each other from different competitions, and he was locked in. And really, what he just I got to get him. But he missed a 3-0 hit sign with that kind of lead. That's just that's just sportsmanship, respect for the game, respect for your opponent. He made a mistake, so there'll be a consequence that he has to endure here within our family. But it won't happen again because Joe will be on the lookout and I will be too, and we'll go running in front of the pitcher. We have to. No, he's not going to do that again. I heard he said something like, "I played my game," but no, he doesn't. He plays the game of Major League Baseball that respects the game, respects the opponents, and that was not. And he's got to respect the signs. When he gets to take sign, he takes. He's in there today, so the consequence is not sitting him down.
Charlie?
It's a learning experience.
Tony, did you talk to him about it, or has anybody talked to him about what you just said to him?
Yeah, sure. Of course I talked to him about it. And it's a learning experience. Made a mistake. I actually apologized to the Twins. I sent the message over there, not acceptable, and and I'm certain that will not happen again with Yermin.
Do you expect anything in retaliation of sorts from the Twins?
I'm hoping that they know that I was really upset with it. It shouldn't have happened. I hope it's enough.
Thank you.
Yes.
Tony.
Did you say me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Tony, as you know, it's been a big debate in baseball today, as these things are sometimes. Does it matter at all? It doesn't sound like it does, that they had a position player out there. There's no all bets are off in that situation, not in your mind, I guess, right?
If you could do it differently, I'd send, and we didn't have to play position, I'd send 3 pitchers up there. Just stand there and tap the ball someplace. When you get, and we've been on the side of that, by the way, in Boston, we've all been on the other side of, that unhappy, situation where you're getting beat up. And once you're on the other side, you know what the other side feels like. So, it's just like I say, there's a sportsmanship, respect for the game, respect for your opponent that's real. It has to be the philosophy, and we follow it. I've been taught it. And, the fact that he's a rookie who's excited helps explain why he just was clueless, but now he's got a clue.
Ryan McGoffey?
Tony, for all of us who, argue the unwritten rules of a game we didn't play or haven't played in the major leagues, explain what the fine line difference between having fun and respecting your opponents, whether it's bat flips. We saw Tatis last year swing on a 3-0 pitch for a grand slam. Obviously with Yermin last night, there's a very fine line between, I guess, having fun and going too far. And it seems like it might've been crossed last night.
Well, it was crossed last night because we had a big lead and he had a take sign. That's the fine line. The fine line is just like in the San Diego situation. Their manager gave him a take sign. He just didn't see it. So their manager said, that's what you do. You tread the fine line as a manager. When do you think your obligation is to try to, if you got a win like that, you want to have that win walk in the clubhouse with you, right? Well, if that's the case, when do you think that you have enough runs that you should not push and disrespect the game or the opponent? And, if you're playing with the wind blowing out in a small ballpark, sometimes you got your 7 or 8 runs, you're still swinging. But that wasn't the decision that I made. And, I usually follow the thing where, you get to a point where you got to be good enough to close it out. And I don't want to ever give the other team an excuse to take a shot at one of our players. So, yeah, I don't know if they keep saying unwritten rules, but they're just common sense. We were taught from day one, respect the game, respect the competition, respect your opponent. And the way you respect is both you go out and play as hard and as good as you can. And if someday the other team's having a tough day and the decision is final, then you don't steal, you don't hit 3-0. When is that? That's every manager's decision. In the old days, by the way, like Sparky and those guys, if they had a 5-run lead in the 8th inning, where a grand slam, you still had the lead, they would stop running. And the game has changed. There's more offense now, and you play in ballparks now that are more accommodating to crooked numbers. So you can't follow that rule as much. As far as the bet flips, I just think that MLB has said they want to encourage theatrics, and they want players to have fun. And the way, and I talked to a bunch of my counterparts, if everybody's doing it, then nobody can get upset, right? So if your team does it and they do it to you, you can't get upset. I think it's part of just players competing, and I think the score dictates sometimes, when you have to quit pushing.
Vinny?
Tony, you just explained kind of the difference in your mind between, something like what Yermin did last night and something what Tim got attention for a couple of years ago, for example. There are plenty of folks who are watching the game from an entertainment standpoint who probably would put those two things in the same category. I mean, what do you kind of say from the standpoint of there are folks out there who want to see these kinds of things for entertainment value versus what you guys are doing on the field, which is obviously different?
My answer is the number one entertainment in our game is when two teams are competing against each other. And it's a real competition, and one's going to win, one's going to lose, and the excitement of you get to the last 3 innings and either side's not sure they're going to. That's the entertainment. Beating one club up, like I said, I've been on both sides of it. I'm not sure fans enjoy that. So if a guy hits, home run against a position player, I don't believe they think it's exciting. I think though, since there's so much attention and scrutiny to the major league game now, there's cameras everywhere. It's being, discussed afterwards. The players have more pressure. You don't play quietly in a town with a radio broadcast or occasional TV. The players are under a lot of pressure to come through. If they don't come through, they're gonna, hey, you didn't come through. So emotion has got to be part of our game. You can't take emotion. And that's why I'm good with, guys that celebrate, just like a pitcher that strikes us out and he celebrates because he wants to win. I'm good with that. If the hitter gets a base hit and he celebrates, I think the celebrating is both clubs are doing it in both leagues. So nobody should get upset at the other club as long as it's part of the entertainment of the competition and not beyond it, where the game isn't, you're going to win that game.
James?
That's how I would define it. Other people may have a different definition. That's mine. That's what I followed, and adjusted a little bit, like I said, for the 5-run lead. Manage the National League, go to Colorado, had a 6-run lead in the 9th, and they got 9. So we weren't stopping at the top of the 9th. We just didn't score anymore. So,
James?
Tony, around the league, it seems like you see teams using position players, when they're down big more and more. Is there a certain approach that you have to have that is something that you're going to encounter, a couple times a year? Would you just ask, hitters to kind of, take down the intensity or kind of, limit their swings or limit their aggression in those situations?
You talking about when there's a position player pitching?
Yeah.
Well, the way I would handle it, if I could, I think we did. I think when we had a game where Ruiz hit, rather than I said, you go hit. I would have the hitters, but if you're a hitter, I'm not going to tell a hitter to make an out on purpose. I mean, if you're successful in this league, you make 7 outs and 10 at bats. I don't think that's fair either. So, if they get a chance to hit against a guy, and that's, get a base hit. I don't think you can take that away from a guy.
Yeah, so I guess how do you balance it with our hitters? He's getting evaluated on his numbers at the end of the year, but you don't want to show the other, and balancing your concern about showing the other team up.
What do you think about that? How many you go to bat 400 or 500 times? 3 at bats. You think that's going to make a difference? That's like getting into discussion and why you should never hit and run, force a guy to swing when you think that hit and run's a play, or get a guy over from second base. Unless you sacrifice or don't. That's not even close to. If a player is getting into that or his agent is getting on him, they don't understand that the game is your team against their team. You're supposed to contribute to helping to win, big and little. And I'm very pleased by what I see that our club is wanting to do whatever it takes to win the game, big and little. And I think I rarely see something in the major leagues where it's different than that.
Jesse?
Tony, is the consequence in that situation sort of kangaroo court-like, where you're trying to, you make a serious point with sort of a light punishment, or is there more depth to that? Is there a serious punishment involved within the team, as you mentioned?
Depends on whether you have a kangaroo court. We don't have a kangaroo court. So I think if it's anything, it's kangaroo courts are silly things like, you sometimes, I walked out the other day with the wrong hat. I didn't have the camouflage hat. So anything serious like that, it's a manager's responsibility. And it's a teaching moment. And you want like Yermin, you want him to understand why there's a takes on that situation. And these situations come up often enough with pitchers and players, and you have a discussion about them. And you explain what you were thinking. If there's a disagreement, then you remind them you got the office, they got the locker. It's just, that's where this manager's going to play it. But it's a teaching moment, and that's what I mean here. I'm just telling you that I'm absolutely certain that the guy's not going to swing 3-0 in another situation. But I'm not going to tell you, I didn't try to spank him. He's too big and strong. I'm not going to talk about, I don't find players. So I'm not going to sit him.
Last question for Tony, Brian McGoffey.
Tony, you just said you're not going to tell guys to make outs, obviously, but this is just for clarification purposes. This is about a missed sign. So if he were to if he does take the pitch last night, then he homers on 3-1, would that have been okay?
Yeah, that's right. That's good. I made it clear. You can't take at bats away from these guys. Because 7 times out of 10 they fail if they hit 300. And I just don't think you can do that. But you can't hit 3-0. And I also said, if I could, I would send up a pitcher. Hey, hit a ground ball there or something. But I did not tell a guy, hey, just hit a ground ball. I wouldn't do that. And and over the years when I've been on the wrong side of that. Guys, I don't begrudge them hitting line drive and there's a home run that's been hit. It just, it's our fault for getting behind the game and having to pitch a position player. So, that's what it's total an explanation as I can give you.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, guys.
Okay.